Well, I think that the I like your articles, guys. I always do, and this one I actually couldn't stop myself from giving a video response because I believe that never mind America, I think it's the world. Period. Any country that is one of the economic superpower or in the top echelons where they tend to value that. In fact, I think it's insinuated anywhere, even in the poorest countries, where they try to emulate being a higher power. Unfortunately, a lot of people tend to want to eat for anything but the right reasons. One thing that they don't discuss in schools, that they don't talk about, is that well, nutrition is good and nutrition is this. At the very least, here in Canada, one of the prime requirements that they do have, I don't know if they're still doing it in all school districts across Canada, but I remember when I was a kid, we did have a course that was given in primary school that allowed us to be taught what the actual Canadian food guide was, giving us all the food groups. We learned, pardon me, about vegetables. We learned about cheese. We learned about milk products, proteins, so on and so forth. I never really went forward with that because for me, I ate whatever my parents prepared, and it was always me overeating because I was underconfident, I was insecure, I was fighting pressure from peers to try and avoid being bullied to anything else. Stress from studies, stress from relationships, stress from a marriage. And I've discovered that one thing that should be taught and should be discussed, if not in primary school towards grades 7, 8, 9, or even earlier, in high school as a mandatory class, in regards to how your body reacts towards various stresses and how, as a defense mechanism, if you're not careful of it and not keeping it, not necessarily up front, but keeping it in the back burner and always reminding yourself once in a while that, am I okay? Doing a mental check and going, am I eating too much? Am I always eating, craving certain foods or certain substances that I shouldn't be eating constantly? And it's it's not to come down on anyone, and I'm not saying that eating is bad. I eat everything in moderation. I enjoy a bit of fast food once a week, once every 2 weeks, all depending on how fast paced my life becomes, and I try to make better choices. Instead of taking a fry, I take a small burger with salad. If I don't want that, then I just have one portion of it and that ends it, and I don't touch it for a few days. I've enjoyed cooking and I've gotten back into the swing of cooking my own meals and cooking bigger portions so I can have an extra lunch or an extra dinner for 1 or 2 days, because my lifestyle doesn't really allow me the extra time to be able to sit, cook, well, sit, cook, stand and cook. If I want to do other things, if I want to go out and do some exercise, if I want to go take a walk, I don't jog, I don't run, I don't bike because I don't own a bike. But that's also something that needs to be integrated into food and nutrition. Without exercise, your body has no way to actually use up the nutritional elements in a beneficial way, thus making you stronger, healthier, um, improving your brain function, improving your respiratory function, so on and so forth. Our sedentary lifestyle has unfortunately led us to a nasty syndrome that tends to be increasingly passed on to younger generations. And I think that regardless of what happens in schools, parents need to pass on the bigger portion of it, and the friends of their children also. Unfortunately, if no one else does it, who will? Myself, I've come to my realization that I needed to stop eating and become a more intelligent person when it comes to cooking And believe it or not, I used to be somebody who drank Pepsi, Coke, you name it, soft drink. I was an addict to sugar and caffeine. It's now, if not entirely eliminated from my diet, it's now at 99% eliminated. And I've replaced it with basically just Perrier or similar versions of it, but no artificial sweeteners, no sweeteners whatsoever except raw, unrefined brown sugar if needed, or some molasses, or even better, blue agave, which for me does the trick if I need something, or maple syrup once in a while if I feel indulgent. So, as for Jamie Oliver, he's a nifty man, but because of other cooks that I've learned to respect throughout my life when I was growing up as a kid, I've learned to become much better for myself and for others. And I cook something, and it's always in moderation. If I do beef one day, I try to avoid doing it 2 days in a row, and I try to actually cook chicken or fish. And everything has to be in moderation, because with everything floating around in our environment, trying to focus on one single type of food item can lead to serious health issues. Just take an example for fish. Fish is beneficial, but fish in most cases is also mercury intoxicated, which unfortunately leads to an somewhat higher absorption rate in humans because we're higher up the food chain, and unfortunately we end up to concentrate more, and if you have too much in your bloodstream, you end up with serious neurological disorders, other issues that can impact your life, other diseases that could also start because of something breaking down your DNA coding, or something that's genetically predisposed to you but needs a certain type of factor, such as a Tetris piece falling in the right place, wrong time, and your life starts going downhill. Anyways, cooking is indeed a nutritional issue that needs to be addressed fully and immediately in schools. It has to be taught to children that they're in charge of their own food, not Subway, not Burger King, not mom and dad, but everyone who wants to eat something has their own choice. So, have a nice one.